Okay, hello. My name is Jeremy Guerrero. This is my ELL Technology Final Project portfolio for a typical science classroom conducted on eMaze. So, for part one, for this I decided to take a lesson I have done in the past and modify it so that it would be more technologically interactive. For that, I used PlayPosit. Typically, this would be in a high school freshman science classroom for biology. The NGSS is Next Generation Science Standard, which is used for science instead of the usual Common Core. For this, it is dealing with variation and distribution of traits. So, the tech improved lesson that I decided to design, I decided to use it to review the introduction activity. The introductory activity involves students looking at each other and collecting data of their physical traits to see who is dominant and who is recessive. In the technology lesson I created, students would watch the short video that sums up the objectives of the lesson and answer the questions on paper, or vote as a class. In order to improve this lesson, I find that students might lose focus easily if they are answering as a class, so maybe I would have them work individually and watch the video on their own iPad. I still would want to somehow monitor and make sure they were on task. For ELL students, I could create simpler questions if these ones are too difficult. I would also like to find a way to get individual answers and feedback for the students so I know which students are struggling on what. Here is the lesson that I made on PlayPosit. It doesn't embed as amazingly. There's the link, but you can log in and play it once you are logged in and see the different questions that are on it at different points, as long as you activate the sound. You should be able to hear and see some of the questions. So, for part two, despite not working in a classroom this year, I decided to make an assignment I would have hypothetically given to students that I do want to do in the future. I took a common assignment that is given to science students to make a poster or a pamphlet or even a research paper of some kind and modified it into one where they have to use technology and present it in front of the class. In this, I wanted them to learn to use eMaze as a presentation tool in a high school freshman science classroom, where they would be dabbling in its history. Here is an example of the assignment that I would be giving the students. They will find the listed requirements for the project and the assignment that can be uploaded onto Schoology if so desired. As I said, I have given a similar assignment in the past that was much simpler. Often it would even just be a paper to turn in. After going through this class, I wish to modify it to include presenting as well. I chose eMaze because I really enjoyed this presentation tool, and it is something not as common as they would expect, so hopefully they would enjoy it more. As for the reflection, I feel this lesson is especially good for ELL students. It will without a doubt improve their speaking skills in front of people and in the English language. They can take their time in organizing their thoughts using eMaze. The research and eMaze creation itself would improve their reading and writing skills. I feel this assignment also really connects with another class I took this session, which was the cross-cultural class. Many scientists have a wide range of backgrounds. So through this assignment, students will be exploring different cultures and histories as well. They will learn about the way life was during selected time periods. ELL students can use this opportunity to share about their culture as well if they pick a famous scientist from their home. It also makes ELL students feel a little bit more comfortable being in the United States when they're able to share their cultures with others and feel more accepted. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give this to any students because I haven't been working full-time in a classroom this session. So instead, I made some assumptions based on the past as well as what I would expect students to be like with the new improvement. The pros of this assignment is that students learn to research, write, and orally give a presentation, as well as learn to use a new technology tool for organization. The cons would be that students may be resistant to learning new technology when they are so used to Google Slides and PowerPoint for everything. Oftentimes people just don't like change. I can honestly admit I struggled with wanting to use a lot of the new technology this class has pushed onto me, but I was genuinely surprised and grateful with how many tools I have saved and have a true desire to continue to use in the future of my teaching career. I hope to do the same with eMaze for the students. This assignment may be too advanced for level 1 and 2 ELL students who are just entering and being able to use the English language. But I would guess, looking back at this assignment, after having made it, that I could provide extra time or even mini little assignments where the students just explore eMaze alone and see all the effects that it has to offer. I could also see how ELL students would naturally fall behind in speed and completion than native speakers, and I would thus find a way to give them more time or have them present last so that they have more time to complete their project. This lesson doesn't really hit any NGSS standards because it's dealing on the more history aspects of it. However, according to RITA standards, this lesson would be standard 4 of science as usual, but I think it could even hit standard 5 as well because it is delving into the history of science. For part 3, I observed a special ed teacher using Pear Deck in a physical science classroom, teaching about the phase changes of matter from solid to liquid to gas and vice versa. This class has low skill levels because of either being ELL students, we have 2 of them, many IEPs, and many having generally behavioral issues, where many are just off task naturally. In this lesson, the teacher used Pear Deck so that students would log in and follow along with the notes where they were reviewing the middle part of a unit. Oftentimes they'd simply draw dots or make stars at corresponding areas, and then everyone could see where they answered as well as everyone else, and the instructor would be able to then show the right answer. Doing so would give the instructor a better idea on, is the class getting it? Is it just a couple of people missing it? And all of that. This is also useful in giving feedback because it makes it easier to see what we need to reteach. A con would be that some students work faster than others, which leaves them very bored until we get everyone answered and can move on, especially with this sort of class, which is very off task and has a very short attention span. As such, I would improve this lesson by perhaps making separate Pear Decks with less words, make it so that you can answer bits and pieces a lot quicker. This way I can also provide more time for ELL students. The RITA standards for this would also be just standard for looking into the science of it all. The NGSS for this would be that they're developing models that predict and describe changes in how does matter operate based on its temperature. So for part 4, finding another useful technological tool to use in a classroom that could be useful and hasn't been discussed in class or a clinical would be Quizlet. I was genuinely surprised that Quizlet wasn't on the list of do not use technology or something that we have gone over because it is a very useful tool in my opinion. It serves as a site that makes it easy to create flashcards or search for others that might apply to your topic. The pros are that flashcards are very effective in learning and presenting information. I can't stress how much I like to use flashcards when it comes to teaching as well as learning. I use them for myself. Even in foundations, it was noted in foundations for ELL students, the previous prerequisite course, it was noted by the teacher that flashcards help to repeat and hammer in the information for ELL students through repetition, provides easy access to the vocabulary that they need to memorize. The cons would be that generally you have to generate them yourself. It can also be time consuming if you go and try and search for them. And you have to learn the information and know it before you can make them. Either that or you have to know what you are searching for. Sometimes you can't find a good set of pre-made flashcards to use for yourself. I think I could use this for ELLs and help them get over those cons that I described by making pre-made Quizlet flashcards by myself and give them to them. This way, it would be immensely useful in practicing the extra difficult vocabulary, and they will know what they need to focus on. This concludes my Technology Finder portfolio